Hallo und willkommen zurück zu Super Seegurke Buchclub. Wir lesen heute weiter, also nicht weiter, aber den nächsten Teil von Infinity Sun. Und zwar Infinity Reaper.
Wie man am tollen Hintergrund erkennen kann.
Genau, und oben links und im Titel. Nicht im Titel, da nicht. ähm, ja, wir hatten ja letzte Woche Infinity Sun beendet. Also Infinity Sun. Das Buch, das erste Volume. Nicht Volume. Doch? Ja.
Schon.
Den ersten Teil von dieser Reihe von
Infinity Cycle.
erstmal zu. Heißt das so?
Ja, die Reihe.
Achso, das steht aber nirgendwo auf dem Buch drauf, oder?
Irgendwas steht das, glaube ich, bestimmt. I don't know. Ich weiß aber nicht genau.
Ja, aber ich meine, ich könnte mir vorstellen, dass sowas eher größer
Am
auf der
Anfang.
Frontseite stehen muss.
Also bei Adam Silvera. Ist direkt die erste Seite. More happy than not. History is all you left me. They both die at the end. What if it's us with Becky Evertelly? The Infinity Cycle. Infinity Sun.
Okay. Cool, jedenfalls. Ähm, ja, und heute geht's weiter mit dem zweiten Teil. Letztens kam Brighton und nee, die haben sich alle wiedergefunden bei dem Kampf. Wo waren die da?
Die waren. Oh mein Gott.
Waren die wieder in einem Friedhof oder was anderes?
In irgendeiner Kirche oder so? In irgendeiner Kirche waren die.
Ja, so eine Kirche, glaube ich.
Und die hatten so Jumpsuits an. Die Anhänger von Luna, und Luna hatte so eine Robe an. Und dann haben die da alle gekämpft und Emil hat voll den Infinity-Ender in den Bauch bekommen und hat auf dem Boden gelegen und musste mit ansehen, wie Brighton das Reaper-Stuff
Genau.
geäxt hat.
Gut, dass du dich dran erinnern kannst.
Ja.
Ähm, ja.
Aber
Atlas
apropos
ist
erinnern,
in den Kampf nicht gestorben. Ja.
wir können ja mal die Zusammenfassung vorlesen.
Ach so. Wow, was für ein Übergang. Ich dachte, okay.
The World of Gleamcraft. Gleamcrafters. Practitioners with powers. Applicable to both Celestials and Spectres. Celestials. Their true origins unknown, these people carry powers that have a connection to the stars and sky. Some powers are presented at birth, others surface later in life. The range of their abilities is wide. Celestials can be distinguished by the way their eyes glow like different corners of the universe as they use their gleam. Notable group, the Spellwalkers. Spectres. 60 years ago, alchemy was developed as a way to use the blood of creatures to give humans power. People who receive their powers this way are known as spectres, and the range of their abilities is limited to the blood of that creature's breed. Oh my god. Spectres can be distinguished. Spectres can be distinguished by the way their eyes burn like eclipses as they use their gleam. Notable group, oh mein Gott, und nicht so mein Ding heute. The Bloodcasters.
Irgendwie kommst nicht ganz, sagen wir mal, flüssig durch. Hoffen wir mal, dass es nicht den Stream beeinflusst. Aber es war verständlich und es war jetzt nicht super abgehackt. Aber nicht schön. Also,
okay, mal gucken.
Dramatis Personal.
Ja.
Okay, I guess das ist so wichtige Person. Oder
ja, irgendwie so. Also Personen, die drin vorkommen, so, I guess.
Ja, ich weiß nicht, weil dramatisch, so dramatische Personen, was?
Ja.
Das sind schon alle ziemlich dramatisch.
Erstmal googeln.
Spellwalkers and Allies. Emil Ray. A reincarnated spectre with phoenix blood who can cast grey and gold fire, self-heal his mortal wounds, sense feelings from other phoenixes, fly and resurrect, known as Firewing and Infinity Sun.
Dramatis Personae. Personen, die in einem Drama auftreten.
Ah, das ist ein Drama? I guess.
I don't know, vielleicht ist Drama auch einfach nur allumfassend für ein lyrisches Werk oder so, I don't know.
Ja, aber I don't know, ob man das so...
I mean, es ist auch ein Drama, alles, was Adam Silvera schreibt, ist ein Drama.
Es ist schon,
Am Ende stirbt Emil und Brighton hat die Weltherrschaft oder so, like locker. Und Ness stirbt so an seiner Seite und die Mutti ist die Einzige, die überlebt und du denkst so, Partie in deren Haut würde ich nicht stecken wollen.
Ja. Brighton Ray, the creator of the online series Celestials of New York, drank Reaper's blood for the powers of a Phoenix, Hydra and Ghost. Wow. Das ist so, eine Sache ist so voll Partie und das andere ist so voll evil.
Ja.
Das ist so sein
wow,
Character.
Celestials of New York. Oh, wait, what? Reaper's blood?
Ja. Wahrscheinlich geht es um ihn. Weil Reaper, Infinity Reaper. Maribel Lucera, a Celestial who can levitate and glide. Ich dachte, warum steht da nicht, dass sie auch ihre Phoenix Powers entdeckt hat oder sowas?
Ja, und ihre ganze Familiengeschichte und dass Emil eigentlich ihr Vater ist.
Aber like, levitate and glide ist nicht fliegen.
Das klingt so boring.
Ja, es ist so ein Hühnchen oder was?
Ja.
Wenn es irgendwo
so
runterfällt.
Hühnchen.
Ja. Iris Simone Chambers, a Celestial with powerhouse strength and skin impervious to most gleam attacks. New leader of Spellwalkers. Achso, ja, bei Maribel war vorher, ne? Die ist abgehauen.
Nee, Iris war das eigentlich schon die ganze Zeit.
Achso.
Ja.
Okay, weil New Leader hat mich jetzt verwirrt dann.
Ja, weil davor ja, keine Ahnung, der Vorgänger von, das Vorleben von Emil.
Achso, ja. Wie auch immer der ist.
Ja, irgendwas mit B. Nee, war das der andere? Bautista war der Böse oder der Gute? Ne?
Ja, ich glaube, Bautista war der erste.
Das finden wir bestimmt noch raus.
Atlas Hase. Deceased. A Celestial who could conjure winds. Wow. Was ein Airbender, ey. Einfach der nächste Avatar.
Ja.
Wesley Young. A Celestial who runs at swift speed. Cool. The Flash.
Ja.
Eva Nafisi. Nafisi. A Celestial who can heal others but gets harmed in the process. Ach, gets harmed oder? Ich dachte, jetzt nur den Schmerz gespürt. Oder so.
I mean, ist schon harm, I guess. Starke Schmerzen können ja auch Schäden anfügen.
Also mental.
Das auch. Lol.
Ich denke mir halt harm so, I don't know, like was für die Arm ab oder was. Prudencia Mendes, a Celestial with the power of telekinesis. Carolina Ray, Emil and Brighton's mother. Du meinst Brighton's mother. No powers of her own. Wow. Ruth Rodriguez, a Celestial who can create clones of herself. Ich erinnere mich nicht an die Person.
Wesleys Frau, mit der er ein Kind hat. Wo wir mal irgendwie gejoked haben. Von wegen, dass sie irgendwie sich klonen kann. Ich weiß nicht mehr genau, was wir da gejoked haben.
Ach so, das ist so ein Zwillings, so haha. So. Ich weiß Bescheid. Bautista de Leon, deceased. A reincarnated specter with phoenix blood who could cast gold fire and self-heal his mortal wounds, resurrect and remember details from his past life. Founder of the Spellwalkers. Okay, dann ist der Gute. Okay.
Glück gehabt.
Aber der hat nur goldenes Feuer gehabt. Und hat, wow, das ist ja alles so...
In der Theorie wird er ja auch krasser von Neugeburt zu Neugeburt, aber I don't know. Oder Wiedergeburt zu Wiedergeburt.
Aber I don't know, aber warum, also like, dann könnte sich Emil ja auch noch an das davor erinnern, I guess, I don't know.
Nee, er kann sich ja nicht erinnern, weil Bautista ja umgebracht wurde mit dem Infinity-Ende, dass er überhaupt wiedergeboren wurde. War ja ein Wunder, basically.
Okay, Sarah Cordova, deceased. An alchemist and celestial who had psychic visions, founding member. Von was?
Den Spellwalkers, die Überschrift.
Achso, ja, Spellwalkers and Allies. Okay, ja.
Yes. Bloodcasters and Allies. Ness Arroyo. A spectre with shifter blood who can change his appearance at will. Luna Manette. A supreme alchemist who created the Bloodcasters. No powers of her own. Partie. Reingeschissen. Dion Henry. A
War
spectre
nicht
with...
deceased.
Nee.
Die wurde ja auch angegriffen. Also leider.
Ja.
Aber I guess, nehmen wir ja auch nicht deceased.
Ja.
Jetzt
Natürlich.
passiert das im ersten Kapitel.
A spectre with Hydra blood who can grow extra / regrow missing body parts. And da fehlt noch was. Und ich habe mal irgendwo auf Twitter gelesen oder so, da hat er geantwortet, was da fehlt. Aber ich habe das jetzt nicht extra rausgesucht.
Okay.
Stanton, a spectre with basilisk blood who has serpentine senses and venomous, acidic, petrifying and paralytic abilities. June, a spectre with ghost blood who can phase through solid object and possesses people.
Politicians. Senator Edward Iron, a presidential candidate who opposes Gleamcraft. No powers of his own. Partie. Barrett Bishop. Barrett? I don't know. Barrett. A vice presidential candidate and chief architect of the Bounce. No powers of his own. Alter, Bounce. Reap. Congresswoman Nicolette Sunstar. A celestial presidential candidate who can create burning, hot, dazzling lights. Alter, ist sie das Partygirl, oder?
Ja, richtig dazzling.
Und Senator Shine Lu, a celestial vice presidential candidate who can turn invisible.
Halo Knights and Phoenixes. Tala Castillo, a Halo Knight with no powers of her own. Wyatt Warwick, a Halo Knight with no powers of his own. Nox, an Obsidian Phoenix that excels at tracking. Roxana, a Light Howler Phoenix with storm-like powers.
Damn.
Die kennen wir noch gar nicht.
Obsidian Phoenix, Light Howler Phoenix.
Alter, ich freue mich ja so auf dieses Buch, ne? Also, wie man daran sehen kann, ist, dass wir ein bisschen mehr über die Halo Knights erfahren, weil die Charaktere kennen wir ja noch gar nicht. Und Brudi, die Halo Knights sind so cool. Ich wünschte, es gäbe dazu ein Anime.
Ich will so einen Obsidian Phoenix sehen.
Ja,
der einfach nur gerufen wird, um jemanden zu tracken.
Ja, nicht wirklich Spoiler, aber dann sind die bei den Halo Knights und dann sieht das so schön beschrieben aus. Und ich denke mir so, wow, ich will einfach sehen, wie da so Phönix so rumfliegen überall.
Also. Other notable characters. Kion Maximo, deceased. An alchemist and spectre with phoenix blood who could cast grave fire, self-heal his mortal wounds and resurrect. He developed the alchemy to give normal people powers and became the first spectre. Okay, er hat grau und der andere hat goldene und jetzt hat Emil grau und goldene.
Mhm.
I see. Kirk Bennett, the curator for the Phoenix exhibit at the Museum of Natural Creatures. Von Natural Creatures, so alles, oder was?
Ja, alles, was es gibt auf der Welt. Wollte ich damit sagen.
Dr. Billy Bowes, a celestial who can cast illusions. Und The Silver Star Slayer, ein conservative YouTuber. Wow, anscheinend spielt der nochmal eine wichtige Rolle, ich sehe schon.
Ja. But true rulers are not born. We are made. Mary Lou, The Rose Society. Uiuiui.
Oh ja, geh direkt los mit dir.
Info an alle Zuschauer. Ich lese jetzt nur noch Brighton und Ness.
Du klingst so, als wärst du voll sad darüber, nicht Mary Bear lesen zu müssen.
Nee, ich bin ganz froh darüber, ey, honestly. Wer hält die noch aus? Ui. One. Bright Night. Ich stelle mir mal vor, dass er sich selber die Kapitelnamen ausgedacht hat. Und sich immer denkt, wow.
Oder?
Ja.
Oder irgendjemand von seinem Freundeskreis war so Bright Night oder so, ja.
Ja. Bright Night. Brighton. I drink every last drop of Reaper's blood while looking up at the crowned dreamer. The elixir smells like burning bodies and tastes like iron and charcoal. The blood from the Century Phoenix, the Golden Strand Hydra, and the dead ghosts is heavy on my tongue like mud. My throat is burning and I'm this close to spitting out the rest, but I force myself to swallow it all because this Reaper's blood is game-changing. I wasn't lucky enough to be born with powers, to be born a Celestial, but now that I've absorbed these creatures' abilities, the world will get to welcome me as their new champion, a one-of-a-kind, unkillable Spectre.
Voll. Denken wir halt, und dann einfach, so ein Jahr später kriegt er einfach so Celestial Powers. Und ist so, oh, okay,
Uff, Scheibenkleister.
Ich meine, das ist ja egal dann.
Yeah.
Abilities.
I drop the empty bottle and it rolls toward my brother, who has been stabbed. Emil is eyeing me like a stranger as I lick my lips clean and dry them with the back of my hand. I'm about to help him up when I stumble, falling onto my knees. My vision becomes fuzzy. It's as if someone in the church's garden is spinning slowly, then faster. My entire body feels like countless fingertips are grazing my skin. I suck in the sharpest breath of my life, like someone has been strangling me and finally lets go. And before I can full-on panic about whatever is happening, light surrounds me. I'm glowing. I'm nowhere near as bright as the crowned dreamer above me, but I still feel like my own constellation, the bright Brighton, the bright king, whatever you want to call it. I have no idea if all specters experience this warm white glow when getting their powers. The only specters in my life I could ask are special cases who wouldn't remember. Emil, who was reborn with his phoenix powers, and Maribel Lucero, who just discovered hours ago that she isn't a regular Celestial. Her biological father was a spectre, the very founder of the Spellwalkers, marking her as the first known Celestial Spectre hybrid. But I'm a special case too. I feel it. I feel this change in me, even when the glowing stops. Emil is stunned, but his expression turns back to pain. Help me, he breathes. Blue blood from the dead phoenix grave sand is wet and sticky on Emil's chest, but it's his own red blood spilling out his wound that needs attention. Luna Marnet, the supreme alchemist who created the Reaper's blood I just drank, stabbed him with an Infinity Ender blade. She must have gotten Emil so deep with that Infinity Ender blade that he can't even tap into his phoenix powers to heal himself. I cradle Emil's head. I got you, bro. I got you, bro.
Bruh.
I flinch as spellwork explodes across the Alpha Church of New Life's garden. The fighting hasn't stopped because my brother's dying. It's like the broadcasters and their acolytes won't rest until every spellwalker is dead. In the fray, I see my friends Prudencia Mendez, Wesley Young, and Iris Simone Chambers, the leader of the Spellwalkers. Despite the...
Denkt er das gerade so? Weil so, meine Freunde, Prudencia Mendez, Wesley Young.
Ich stelle mir vor, das ist wie so sein Tagebuch, seine Memoiren, die irgendwann später gelesen werden, wenn er ganz krass groß rauskommt, weißt du.
Ach so. Nee,
er muss ja alles beschreiben.
So einfach seine Gedanken jetzt.
Ja.
Aber ich dachte, das mit den Geistern zum Beispiel war ja nur so, weil das so passt, weil das so ihre Eltern waren und dass das wichtig war oder so für die Potion.
Yes. Aber naja.
I don't know.
Despite their innate powers, they are struggling to contain Stanton, a spectre with the blood and the powers of a basilisk, and Dion, a spectre with the speed of a hydra and the extra arms to match. Then I see Maribel, our most powerful player, as she crouches beside Luna with absolute murder in her eyes. You had my parents and boyfriend killed so you could live forever. Now I get to watch you bleed out. Luna is fading in and out as she stares at the stars like they can still make her powerful. Not happening. Her silver hair is plastered to her sweaty forehead and she's pressing down on the hole I blasted through her stomach with my wand spell. You won't. Luna tries to speak but keeps choking on her own words. It it triggers a flashback of Dad gagging on his own blood. It's so vicious that I turn away even though Luna deserves every ounce of pain. Unlike Luna, I'll never have to fear death death again thanks to the Reaper's blood. But my brother does. Maribel, we have to get Emil to the hospital. Then June appears out of nowhere. Moon-white skin, dark silver hair, big empty eyes. She's a specter with ghost blood. The only bloodcaster with these powers, we think. And she possessed Maribel and made her kill Atlas Haas. Alter, ob Maribels Spitzname für Atlas Hasi ist.
Ich weiß nicht, wie gut das im Englischen funktioniert.
Im Deutschen wär's das. The love of her life and one of my very favorite spellwalkers. I keep calling Maribel's name, but it's like her need for vengeance. I am vengeance. Has me on mute. There's no stopping her as she scoops up the Oblivion Dagger, the one that's made of bone and can vanquish ghosts, and chases the young assassin around the garden. Back home, when...
Stell dir vor, wie sie so langsam im Kreis rennen.
Ja.
In diesem Garten werden alle kämpfen. Und so haha.
Back home, when I told Maribel my plan to steal the Reaper's blood away from Luna, she didn't question it. She wants Luna to be powerless, and I don't want to die at all. We're both coming out winners. Except it's all pointless for me if Emil doesn't live too. I have to get him out of here. I try lifting him, but it's a struggle. It's like he has rocks hidden in his power-proof vest. It's a shame that none of my new abilities is powerhouse strength, but I still manage to muscle up and get Emil on his feet. And he wraps his arm around my shoulders. An acolyte runs at us with an axe, hopping over the Hydra, beheaded for the potion, his feet now slick with yellow blood. Alter, es muss ja so bunt sein da. Blut, das rot ist und blau und gelb und Stanton hat ja wahrscheinlich grünes. Wow, einfach Rainbow.
Auf eBay. Suche Person mit grünem Blut, will was malen.
Ja. Earth. Dieser Artraum, in dem Ness und Emil waren. Auch überall nur Blut. Es stinkt da übel drin.
Ja.
I'm counting on him slipping on the grass, but he stays upright. Emil can't protect us, but it's okay. I'm going to be his hero the way he's been mine the past month. I take a deep breath and extend my hand, visualizing Phoenix fire blasting from my palm. The acolyte keeps pursuing us. I keep my hand ready, concentrating on how badly I want to take him out, and he's suddenly wrenched backwards as if flicked away by some invisible hand. How did I do that? Is this a ghost blood power? I realize it wasn't me when Prudencia appears at our side with her eyes glowing like skipping stars. The eyes that look like doorways into different corners of the universe are how you can identify anyone as a Celestial, but that's only if the Celestial activates their powers around you. Prudencia has only ever shown us her beautiful brown eyes since we met her in high school, and now here she is, saving our backs and fighting this war with us. Her forehead is split open, and her glistening celestial blood is running down the side of her face.
Wait, so like, sie hat sich noch nie verletzt, seitdem sie sich kennen, und die haben noch nie like, ihr Blut gesehen oder so, I guess.
Also.
Ja, ich denke mal so, ja, Nasenbluten oder so, vielleicht mal hingefallen.
Ich meine, Nasenbluten, vielleicht hat sie schnell genug bemerkt. Also ich meine, ich habe dich, glaube ich, auch noch nie Nasenbluten haben sehen, so aktiv.
Okay.
Ich habe noch nie dein Blut gesehen, glaube ich, also.
Ey, ich blut ständig.
Also, sag mal, bist du ein Celestial oder was?
Ja, also,
What happened? Who hurt you? I ask. Prudencia waves the question away as she observes Emil's wound. We have to get him medical attention. It was only hours ago when Prudencia and I last saw each other at Nova, the elementary school for Celestials that was being used as a haven. Iris was forbidding me from going on any more missions, and even though Prudencia told me to stop risking my life, to stay with my family, to stay with her, I followed Maribel like a true hero. From the ground, Luna groans. Whoa, Prudencia says. So, we stopped her. She must have missed everything while fighting for her life. My grand entrance, blasting Luna with the last spell in my wand, saving Emil, and drinking the Reaper's blood. Even the glowing. Those moments were historic, and she missed them. I should have set up a camera to upload everything online later for everyone to see. Die Sachen, über die man sich in diesem Moment Sorgen machen sollte, auf jeden Fall. I took her down, I say, pointing at the steel wand on the ground. She doesn't call me a hero or tell me I did a great job. Iris shouts as she barrels through alkalites like a quarterback, laying out 6 before she reaches us. There's blood setting into her dyed green buzz cut and even more across her knuckles. She clearly busted every idiot who thought they could take on one of the city's strongest celestials. Enforcers are storming in, she says, panting. I counted a dozen, but more will be on the way. Time to retreat. Enforcers fire through the church's garden door, protected in their sea green armor, as they aim their wands at every single one of us. Celestial specters, the human acolytes who want to become more, and bombard us with spellwork of all colors. Now would be a spectacular time for my ghostly abilities to kick in, so I can phase through the solid wall behind us, maybe even teleport us over, but then all I feel is some painful nausea and dizziness. I drop with Emil to the ground, and spells fly over our heads. Iris leaps forward and shields us, her arms crossed over her chest. Her dark brown skin is resistant to the spellwork. Boah, die will man fast schon malen. Das klingt irgendwie fun. Sie hat so dunkle Haut, aber so neongrüne, abrasierte Haare. Funny.
I don't know, dann aber irgendwie auch wieder so Standard. Cyberpunk irgendwie.
Das war... Prudencia uses her powers to sweep other spells away, but she's careful not to fire them back at the enforcers. This past January, a terrorist attack known as the Blackout was blamed on the last 4 original spellwalkers, but we all know now that the Bloodcasters were actually responsible. Except the enforcers have never gotten have never gotten that memo. They've been tasked with eliminating the new wave of spellwalkers, even though it's not their fault. Unlike the spellwalkers, the bloodcasters don't save innocent lives. Something is off as to why the enforcers don't work harder to take them down and lock them up. Was wohl? Wesley dashes to us, skidding to a halt. His height and curvy build remind me of one of my favorite childhood wrestlers. Alter, ist so ein richtig breiter Typ. Except that guy doesn't have Wesley's brown man bun. Okay, richtiger breiter Hipster. But the wrestler was definitely sporting bruises above his eye and cut lips like Wes does now. Heads up, friends. We are very cornered right about now, he says. Didn't notice, Iris says as she smacks a lightning spell away. There are puddles of blue, yellow, grey and red blood all across the garden. Alter, grau auch. Rudi.
Wow.
I wasn't here when the massacre first started, but it's still disturbing to see the Hydra head facing skyward with its tongue hanging out of its massive mouth and the dead blue phoenix lying on its side. Sharp movements catch my attention and Dion lunges into the squad of enforcers. Using her 6 arms to chop one in the throat, snaps the neck of another, punches one between his eyes and snatches the wand of 2 and blasts them dead. Alter, das will ich in so einer Anime-Fighting-Scene sehen. So, wenn so Side-Scroller-mäßig nur auf sie gefokust wird und sie alle dead macht. Alter, das müssen wir pitchen irgendwie, I don't know. Infinity Cycle, the Anime.
Absolut, 2 Seasons können schon mal sein.
Ja. This garden is becoming a graveyard. Prudencia, cover me, Iris says as she runs to the gate, wrenches apart the spiked poles that like they are made of clay, and begins punching away at the brick wall behind it. Wes, get Marable. I turn to find Marable slashing at the air with the Oblivion dagger, constantly missing June as she teleports all around. Wesley dashes over and immediately has to take a step back before he can get stabbed. He's trying to drag Marable away, but she's not having it, so he grabs her by the legs, lifts her onto his shoulders, and runs back to us. Put me down, Marable shouts, trying to break out of his grip like a phoenix locked in a cage. We're not leaving you behind, Wesley says. Marable hammers Wesley in the back with the dagger's bone handle until he releases her. Bringt ihn einfach
Ja.
mit der scharfen Seite.
Ja, das wir auch. Aber so rein.
Ja. She scans around as June suddenly rises out of the ground and places her hand on Luna, protecting her leader. Marable hurls the dagger and it flips through the air as quick as a blink, but June and Luna have faded faster into the night. She got away! They both got away! A spell narrowly misses her, and Marable turns to assess the danger. More enforcers trying to kill her. It's clear she's fed up when one eye glows like a sailing comet, and the other comet, and the other burns like an eclipse. Dark yellow flames burst into life from her fists to her elbows, and she casts the fire toward the enforcers. She's quick with a fire arrow to the cauldron when Stanton, the Basilisk Spectre, makes a move for the remaining elixir. All the Reaper's blood goes up in flames. Hurry! Prudencia shouts at Iris. Her power isn't trained enough to keep fending off all the spellwork, and more enforcers are arriving on the scene with fully charged wands. Iris breaks the wall open with a mighty punch, creating a hole big enough for everyone to go through. Bis jetzt haben wir Iris noch nie so viel in Action gehabt, das finde ich ganz nett. Okay, sie hat so voll die krasse Stärke und das war bis jetzt noch nie so wichtig, aber jetzt ist es voll wichtig.
Ja, jetzt kann sie Löcher in Wände machen.
Ja. Gravesend, Emil says weakly. Gravesend is dead, I say. Don't leave her. Of course Emil cares about the corpse of a phoenix. Like, it really matters right now if someone takes Gravesend and makes a scarf out of her feathers. Whoa, Brudi. But as more spells fire away, I take the lead and get Emil out of here. Iris sees me struggling, and she carries Emil with ease straight into the back of her jeep. Where's Eva? I ask. Eva is Iris' girlfriend and a powerful celestial in her own right. Emil needs her healing powers fast. Eva is Philadelphia bound with your mother and others, Iris says. I have a connection at the Lynx facility, Wesley says from outside the door. We should be able to get discreet care. Prudencia hops in the front passenger seat. We need somewhere closer. He's losing blood fast. Wesley racks his brain. Aldebaran. I don't know. There's good people at Aldebaran. Lead the way, Iris says. Wesley dashes ahead on foot, and Iris hits the gas, peeling off. I look out the rearview window and see Marable is gliding behind. I don't know when she's planning on coming back for Atlas's car, which we used to arrive here tonight, and I don't care. Emil's eyes are closing, and I slap him awake. Lieutenant! Lieutenant Anderson! Wake up! Emil, come on, bro. Look at me. I was so busy using up each charge in the wand that I didn't see Luna gut my brother with that infinity ender. If I were my own wand, my own working weapon, I would have had unlimited power to handle business. Blood rushes in my head seeing Emil in this state. He's not going to die. This is not how this ends. Ich meine, wir sind im ersten Kapitel immer noch.
True.
I should have gotten here sooner. Prudencia turns from her front seat. You should have never left, Nova. We had no idea if you were even alive. I was with Maribel. She was cast out too. No one kicked you out, Brighton. I look down at Emil. Prudencia shakes her head. You're not actually blaming your brother while he's bleeding. Be better than that. But it's true. He rejected me from joining the next mission. You too, Iris. Iris remains focused on the road, swerving around cars to keep up with Wesley. Wie der einfach rennt. Das ist so cool. Es ist so ein guter Anime. Don't come for me when I'm doing my damn best to save your brother's life. You should have taken the time to train me. Too busy saving the rest of the city, Iris says. Life whizzes by out the window. People are on their porches and fire escapes staring up at the glorious crowned dreamer, even though authorities cautioned everyone to stay inside until it passed. Unlike basic constellations such as the Great Bear and the Hunter that only strengthens select powers, the crowned dreamer is a prime constellation that elevates all Gleamcrafters, Celestials, and Spectres alike. The media is making it sound like Celestials are the problem tonight. It's alchemists like Luna who need prime constellations like this one to turn people into specters. I promise you're no longer superior to me, I say. And I promise I'm not trying to win some pissing contest with you, Iris says, staring left. There's a question forming on Prudencia's lips as she begins inspecting mine in the flashes of streetlight. You didn't, Brighton? You didn't. Someone had to be brave, I say. Prudencia looks like she might slap me. Stop confusing recklessness with courage. That elixir can kill you. I'm not going to let anyone talk to me like I'm some idiot. Not even Prue. I know similar elixirs have been tested on people. As soon as the Crowned Dreamer rose on my 18th birthday, September 1st, the spell workers started tracking specters who were exhibiting powers from multiple creatures a clear first. Emir's powers manifested when we were fighting one. It worked for the other specters, I say. Prudencia's gaze is uncomfortable. Do you mean other specters like Autumn, who literally burned to death on his own fire? Brighton, your father died because his blood couldn't handle the Hydra essence in him. I know why my father died. Then why are you playing with fire like this? This behavior is why Iris didn't want you out on the battlefield. You think you're so tough, but Emil is one of the strongest Gleamcrafters on our side, and look at him. Imagine what I'll be able to do once my powers kick in. Cast fire, walk through walls, regrow limbs, race through the streets, fly. Maybe I'll be able to possess people too. And the stars be damned, possessing people isn't helping you look good. These powers aren't yours to have. That elixir was created for Luna with her parents' blood. There might be negative side effects. You're so irresponsible. I don't remember you giving Emil any of these talks. Emil didn't choose to become a spectre, and he is actively working to figure out how to bind these powers, whereas you've thrown yourself into the dangerous combination of Gleam, one that might kill you. I stay true to what I told Emil. I would rather die powerless than watch him go doing everything I can't. We pull into a parking lot, and Iris brakes so hard I have to steady Emil's neck. The Aldebaran Center for Gleam Care is bright red and shaped like a ring. Alter. Out the window I see Wesley is at the entrance, sweating and taking deep breaths as he speaks with three practitioners. The practitioners rush to us, their midnight blue cloaks swaying, and they gently carry Emil out of the car and onto a stretcher. I swear a couple of them are admiring him like he's some celebrity. The thing is, Emil has become a celebrity, especially to Celestials, ever since he went viral multiple times. He's lucky we're not in a regular hospital, where the workers might handcuff him until enforcers could arrive to lock him up in the bounds. Footsteps drop behind me out of nowhere. It's Marable landing. She's caught the eye of the female practitioner who glares at her with which isn't uncommon. Marable's mother, Aurora, was the one caught on camera bombing the Nightlock Conservatory, and since then Celestials have had a harder time living in peace. Still, with the way that the practitioner is looking at her, you'd think Marable blew up the conservatory herself. The practitioner looks away, assessing everyone. Iris, Wesley, and Prudencia are already pretty beat, bleeding, dirty, bruising. I got off good. No one touched me. It's like I've got phasing powers already. I was careful and more alert because being taken hostage by the Bloodcasters one time was more than enough for me. I catch up to the practitioners who are handling a meal right as the elevator doors are closing. Family only, one practitioner says. He's my brother. Damn right, he's quiet. If they know him, they should know me. Emil's only been featured on my YouTube channel multiple times. Wow.
Oh mein Gott, wie kann man so selbstverliebt sein?
Ja. Wie kann man so gefühlt in so einem Absatz sagen, also nicht in einem Absatz, aber so innerhalb von so ein paar Seiten sagen, ja, oh mein Gott, Emil war voll mein Held und jetzt werde ich seiner sein. Und dann so, boah, hätte ich Emils Power, dann wäre ich viel krasser.
Ja, vor allem diese Sache, weil jetzt denk gar nicht, dass du jetzt besser bist als ich. Ich habe jetzt auch Fähigkeiten.
So
Hat er zwar noch nicht irgendwie andersweise bewiesen oder so, aber bestimmt.
They'll all know me soon enough. The elevator rises to the top level, the 14th floor. The lights in the hallway are warm and bright, and it reminds me of being on stage delivering my salutatorian speech. I stumble, dizzy, but right myself. The practitioners wheel Emil into a private room with white walls, white windows, and most notably a ceiling that is shuttered open, which is standard on most Gleam cares, so the night sky can heal and strengthen Celestials. And Spectres too, but to a lesser degree. This practitioner...
Damn.
Ja, es muss richtig fresh sein.
Yeah.
This practitioner is taking his sweet time cutting open Emil's powerproof vest. I shout at him to hurry the hell up, that Emil was stabbed with an infinity ender blade. Emil is white in the face, and I stay close, holding his hand, even when someone asks me to give them space, because my brother has to know that I'm here with him. Eva Nafisi, I don't know, could save Emil's life in moments, but the spellwalkers never bring her out into battle because losing the healer would be a great loss for us and a great gain for our many enemies. I'm relieved when the female practitioner reveals a moderate healing ability of her own. Her power isn't as colorful as Eva's, which glows like a rainbow, but the muted red lights are helping replenish Emil's blood. Slowly but surely. The only thing is she doesn't seem to be strong enough to fully seal the cut. They might have to give him old-fashioned stitches. I wish Emil and I could heal each other, power to power. All this blood is making me lightheaded. I should sit. Have some water, but this reminds me too much of Dad dying. Emil didn't want to fight, but I pushed him. The room spins when I think about Emil dying. He deserves to live. Come on, this is someone who cares so much about making sure we don't abandon a dead phoenix. The lights fixed on the wall are growing dimmer. I don't feel the Crown Dreamer working to make me more powerful, to keep me upright. My grip loosens around Emil's hand and I stumble backward. I once asked Dad what it felt like living with his blood poisoning. He said it was all...
Ich denke mir halt so, wie kann er diesen Satz, also a dead phoenix, sagen? Und ohne zu denken, nee, das ist komisch. Ich denke mir, nee, der Ding ist doch, dass sie, wiederbelebt werden.
Ja.
Aber klar, ja, das ist tot. Sad.
Ja. He said it was all over the place. Body shivers, a flushing skin, dizziness, vicious heartbeats. Sometimes his breath was shortened, like mine now, getting cut in half. Then those halves cut in half, and the closest I can compare anything to this suffocation is when I had anxiety attacks over exams, or even worse, the ones when Dad would return home from hospital appointments with shorter life sentences. I collapse, looking up at the fading crowned dreamer from the floor, and as my eyes close, I have that blood and bones feeling that the Reaper's blood isn't going to make me immortal. It's going to poison me to death.
Oh mein Gott, wir haben das erste Kapitel geschafft.
Ja.
Wird auch wieder so, dass das erste so voll lang ist und dann später es immer kürzer wird?
Schon. Aber ich denke mir auch so, wenn er schon so struggelt. Like, hätte Luna das einfach getrunken, wäre sie vielleicht einfach gestorben und alles wäre vorbei gewesen.
Ja, oder ist er halt ultra kompatibel mit ihr, I don't know.
Ja, aber maybe, you know.
Ja, never maybe. Know. Okay. Mach ich weiter.
Ich bin Ness.
Ach so.
Partie.
Machst du weiter?
I guess ich mach weiter. 2. Prisoner. Ness. Who am I going to be? The senator's prisoner out in the world, or one who is locked up in the bounds?
Genau, das war ja auch noch ein Ding.
Ja.
Dass der Vater ihn wieder gefunden hat. Lol.
We're below deck when the senator invites me to get some air at the front of the ship to think over the big decision ahead of me. Between him punching me in the nose, getting shot with a stunning spell by enforcers hours ago, and the boat speeding toward the island, my balance is especially off as I go up the narrow stairway and step out onto the stern. There are 2 men fully dressed in black outfits guarding the stairway, and neither pays me any attention, even though we know each other good and well. The senator's head of security, Jax Jan, has always reminded me of an Olympian swimmer with his stretched torso and long arms and legs. He has thick eyebrows and red hair that's pulled into a ponytail. He's the most impressive telekinetic I've ever seen. There's no way any assassin will ever land a shot on the senator as long as he's around. The other, then Zenon klingt wie so ein Kingdom Hearts. Ja, es klingt halt wie so ein Kingdom Hearts Mensch, I don't know. Es gibt locker irgend so ein Xenon oder so. Ja, locker. The other, Zenon.
Gordon
Ramsay. Zenon Ramsay. Has dark blonde hair that completely covers his eyes, which pulls people into thinking he's not paying attention, when in reality he's watching more than most. He has the rare ability to see things through other people's perspectives, literally. I've heard it only works on people in a short distance, but that's all he needs to be a security guard for a 2-mile radius.
Vor allem, ich denke mal, sieht er so Leute, wie die auf sein Ass schauen oder so.
Ja, er sieht einfach seinen eigenen Ass und ist so, wait, what? The senator has always employed Celestials to protect our family, and having Celestial bodyguards when he's actively campaigning against the community always felt like a special sort of magic trick, until I learned how well they were being paid to keep him alive. That's more than I can say for being a bloodcaster who was working to make Luna immortal. What is shocking to me is how Jax and Zenon regarded me like I wasn't supposed to have been blown to smithereens at the Nightlock Conservatory. How many others know that the senator tried to have his own son killed so he could paint the spellwalkers as dangers to society? Even if there was some way I could take down Jax and Zenon and get away on a life raft, a piercing screech high above in the sky tells me that I wouldn't get very far. A phoenix that is 4 times the size of an eagle swoops down toward the river, its crystal blue belly skimming the surface as it searches for any intruders or escapees.
Whoops.
Swoops.
Whoops.
Whoops. This phoenix with drenched indigo feathers is a sky swimmer. Epic. Which I can identify because the senator once returned home from a hunting trip with the head of one. Oof. It might still be mounted in his office at the manor. Quite a sight, the senator says as he follows me into the bow of the ship. At first, I think he's talking about the sky swimmer, but he's staring straight ahead to our destination. The New York Bounce is a collection of small stone castles huddled together like someone pushed all the rocks of a chessboard together. Rooks, meine ich. The towers... Yeah. The towers are windowless designed that way so inmates will be disconnected from the stars, dampening their abilities. Solitary confinement is the cruelest punishment, burying celestials so deep underground that it's as if all the stars have vanished from the universe. I've seen this up front. The senator brought me here after my mother was killed. We toured the Bounce so I could understand the creative measures that the prison's correctional architects had to put in place to seal away their powerful inmates. On one level, there were 2 men floating inside tanks of water, with only their heads above the surface so they could breathe and eat. Their waste was their own problem. The firecaster couldn't summon his gleam at all, and if the lightning striker wanted to make a move, well, that was his life to take. I mean, würde ich wahrscheinlich machen in der Situation. Das klingt doch relativ schnell. Like, wenn er richtig krass Blitze machen kann, dann ist er halt auch schnell dead, glaube ich.
Yeah.
On another level, electric traps were installed around the edges of a cell to prevent a woman who could melt herself into a puddle from escaping. Her neighbor was a man who could camouflage himself against any surface, so the engineers installed sprinklers that sprayed paint of different colors to always keep track of him. The last person we visited that day was a convict in solitary confinement. He'd been imprisoned for using his heating powers to boil the blood of his family. The screams echoing through the corridors had me so nervous that I had stayed hidden behind my then bodyguard, Logan Hess. Hesse? I don't know. Hesse. But then the security guard opened the cell. But when the security guard opened the cell, I realized I had no reason to be scared. The inmates' hands and ankles and waist were bound by iron chains. He had no fight in him as we observed him like some animal in a zoo. The next day, the Celestial was found dead in his cell with red handprints burned onto his pale face. When the senator told me the news, he mocked the dead man with an impression of his suicide. I laughed so hard before returning to schoolwork. I hate where I was. The boat docks at the pier. The island is known for having its traps, like sand basilisks waiting to swallow people whole, but when the senator steps onto the beach before me, I trust that he knows more than I do right now. I'm weighing in my head if I'm ready for the steep climb with jagged rocks up to the prison when an older man walks out from the cluster of trees. The flashlight guiding his path illuminates his features, and I recognize him instantly. He runs this island. Barrett Bishop is very pale, as if he only ever comes out at night. I last saw him the morning of the blackout, and there are now more wrinkles around his eyes and graying hair that stops at his shoulders. He's dragging the maroon jacket for his 3-piece suit because he doesn't care about appearances as much as the senator. The contrast has worked for them this election cycle. The senator is the put-together candidate who is best qualified to serve as president, but Bishop's everyman vibes, paired with his experience as the chief architect of the bounds, have made him a dream choice for vice president. Dream choice, Alter, absolut. The supporters cheer him on at every rally, even when he says the most dangerous things. Edward! Bishop says in a hoarse voice regarding the senator. Then his icy blue eyes turn to me. You brought your ghost. I did indeed, the senator says. Bishop directs the flashlight toward my eyes, toying around with me like I'm some bored cat before turning it off. What are we doing with the ghost? Burying him deep in the bounds? It's his choice, the senator says. The little light spots fade, and Bishop's grin suggests he wants to make me his personal prisoner. If I were locked up, leaving me in a cell to regret all my wrongs would be punishment enough. But the correctional architects who hate Gleamcraft have to show their dominance. They have to prove to all of us everywhere that our powers can be beaten by ordinary means. They have dark imaginations and enough hate to go home at night without feeling absolutely inhuman. I once had that hate too. Following our visit to the bounds, the senator asked me how I would have punished the man who killed my mother if we'd ever tracked him down. The Celestial had cast an illusion and tricked Mom into believing he was her friend before gutting her. I spent all day thinking over the question, and during dinner I told the senator that I would chain the Celestial to a chair, bring in his family, and kill them all in front of him. No illusions, only reality. We can't murder people, the senator had said. But that's clearly a lie. He organized my death and pinned it on innocent Celestials. The truth is that he can't be caught with blood on his hands. So what's my move? I hated being used by the senator to spread messages to other young people that all Celestials are dangers, but what he's got planned for me now is even more extreme. Back on the boat, he said he wants me to use my shifting abilities to impersonate Congresswoman Sunstar and her team to counter the support she's being shown in the presidential race. I don't know the exact details of the plan, but if there's any chance of me posing as her somewhere in public, then I might be able to flee. Right now, I stand no chance of escaping this labyrinth. 4 towers with multiple levels, armed guards, and traps galore. I turn to the senator to give him his answer, and the fading crown dreamer is reflecting off his glasses. I have no idea what went down tonight with the immortality ritual. I hope Emil was able to find his brother and get away with the phoenix. I hope he didn't die for that bird. If I'm ever going to have a chance to see him again, I have to be as calculating and patient as Luna has been her entire life. I have to become a pawn who takes down the king, to outsmart the man who fools the world without a single shifter's muscle. I work for you, I say. Smart choice, Eduardo, the senator says with a quick, that settles it, clap. Smart choice, Eduardo. I was really looking forward to making a game out of your imprisonment, Bishop says, but we'll make do. Let's go home then, the senator says. Home. That cold manor stopped being my home before the blackout. It's a cage of a different kind, but if I can bide my time and wait for the senator to leave a crack in the door, I can slip out and never look back. Hopefully I can escape before helping the senator become the president.
Tja, dann würde ich sagen, das war's für heute.
Yes.
Viel gelernt, I guess, über Bryden und, like, I guess, dieses Bounce-Ding.
Yes.
Sehr interessant.
Das auch.
Und abartig, I guess.
Das auch.
Ja. Ich hoffe, ihr freut euch alle auf die nächsten 77 Kapitel oder so.
Mhm.
Etwas länger als der erste Teil.
Yes.
Und dann hören wir uns alle wieder beim nächsten Mal. Das heißt Super Sengoku Buchclub.
Buchclub.
Wir lesen Infinity Reaper von Adam Silvera. Das habe ich, glaube ich, heute am Anfang gar nicht erwähnt.
Ja, das kann sein.
Aber ich meine,
Wir haben hier
steht
so ein
da
schickes
und
Bild.
like, genau, und like, es geht ja weiter vom letzten Buch. Wäre komisch, wenn das von einem anderen Autor geschrieben wäre.
Imagine.
Und dann geht es nächstes Mal weiter mit Kapitel 3, Death's Hold von Maribel. Oh, ich darf was lesen.
Ja.
Uh,
Und danach ist Emil.
oha.
Und danach Ness oder so. I don't know.
Ness, Brian, Emil, Brian, Maribel, Brian. Gut, das ist eigentlich ziemlich gut gebalanced, würde ich sagen.
Epic. Na, dann freue ich mich ja schon auf nächste Woche. Auf Wiedersehen.
Dann auf Wieder, tschüss und bis zum nächsten Mal.
Tschüss.